When Monte del Sol Charter School began in 2000, it initiated a mentorship program between students, community artists, educators, and business members that sought to take students outside the classroom for experiences that could enhance their understanding of their world and themselves. By connecting young protégés with adults who share similar passions, a new enthusiasm for learning is created. An atmosphere of mutual respect unveils a more relevant sense of responsibility and initiative for young people. It allows adults to contribute, inspire, and remain engaged. As in the real world, not all experiences are fully realized, but in most cases, the discovery of new capabilities led students to nothing short of life transformation.
So, good morning, everyone. May 14th, which is a Monday evening, we're going to start the Mentorship Festival with a celebration. Now, every year, we have done the Mentorship Festival differently. Why is that? This school is all about trying new things. You know, you heard me ask numerous times about inspirational stories, and there are hundreds of them during the Mentorship Festival.
I feel the mentorship program is the heart and soul of Monte del Sol.
We're almost done with our film right now. Mel Gibson is...
It is where students can absolutely shine on whatever it is that they're completely passionate about.
I always do that, you know, just in case.
The mentorship program occupies a core place in the curricular functioning of the school, in the entire school process. It connects kids to the community in very meaningful ways.
It brings a sense of relevance. It brings a sense of seriousness. It brings a sense of responsibility to others other than yourself. It connects the students to the real world in a different way. We have begun creating a different culture of learning.
Just that way, so there's no mess. 300 pounds total.
Holding it down?
Holding it down.
Okay. That's been my mentor for 3 years now. Each year it's gotten a little more challenging, but a little more fun too, so. I never really knew how sculpture worked exactly. I figured, you know, it was some guy saying, well, here's a big sheet, I'm gonna cut out a triangle. And from this triangle, I'm gonna add on a square just coming off here, and you know, just completely abstract, kinda going by freehand, I guess. But that stuff never really tends to work out too well. And so that's taught me a lot about design.
So when we go actually on the outside, when we stand it up outside here, and it's not going to fall on our heads.
Yeah.
I'm a mentor because I remember what it was like to be a teenager and how difficult it is to get out into the real world and get any really qualified experience doing anything. Actually stiffen this circle. I started to ask him things, and we started to uncover things he wanted to do, metal, welding, grinding, wood, whatever. And so I gave him a chance to open the door, say, which ones of these things do you want to learn? Yeah, just about. You gotta get it down closer still. Matthew's got a lot of talent. I just recognize it as a willingness to kind of uncover the stuff that he's always doubted himself about and put in that place something that's confident about himself. And he grows because of that. You're gonna hold the grinder almost tilted into the body of the piece. No gouges.
I'm really hands-on, and so if you give me a problem that I can see in front of me, I can solve it pretty easily. I've never really been the greatest student, but whenever there's a project or something that needs to be done, I can do that.
Put it on 20 volts and 19. Put it top 120, that's 20.9. Lower it a little bit. Good. That'll work.
When I started off, it was something kind of fun, I guess. And then over the past 3 years, it's kind of developed more into a passion. Like once I leave Monte del Sol, I plan on continuing welding and, you know, sculpting as a career and go through in college and learn some more skills.
There you go.
Yeah.
That sounds much better. Is that better?
Nat and I, the time that we have, we really make the most of it and get a lot of work done. And I think too, because like over the years, you know, we've kind of gotten cool with each other, and I guess communication It's kind of the reason that this mentorship's worked out.
We talk about some big things, you know, how's your girlfriend? But it's another reference outside of the house, and that's what the big world was going to ask him to do. So in that regard, I think a third of it is getting him to be a bit more of a grown-up and actually ask questions for himself that he needs to know rather than people telling him what he needs to know.
Always how much steel we can save versus how much steel we use. But we're still gonna have to bend it to the center.
Yeah. And at first, you know, he was like, well, that's a nice design, but what does it mean? And that's the thing that everyone's always been asking me, actually, is, you know, every piece I've done, it's like, what does it mean? What does it mean? And I couldn't always answer that question. So I figured this one, you know, maybe I should be able to answer it since it's going to the school, you know. If you go to Monte del Sol, you have kids from every background. It's a small school and it's nice because it's more of a community setting, I guess. And I kind of see it as kind of a whole balance type thing, you know. I think this is kind of a good representation of the mentorship program there.
That's better. That's great. That's exactly how it should be.
We've become big friends for each other. I believe in him making the changes. Apprenticeship is nice, mentorship's nice, but I think it's really a friendship.
Part of the mentorship experience is for the student to take what he's learned in his mentorship and bring it back into the school and show the rest of the school what he or she's learned.
Some of the knowledge I gained through this mentorship are basic tenets of permaculture, which deal with growing your food in a very mindful and respectful way.
Jude's a classic example of a kid who's been under-challenged by school. And when I observed him working with Erin O'Neill, and she's giving him Wendell Berry and Rachel, and, you know, these environmental writers, and asking him to do a college-level analysis on sustainability, he finally got interested. Not only was intellectually at the right level for him, but it also was meaningful. Jude just ignited.
So those are basically the things. Jude and I worked on an organic farm this summer, and he wanted to continue his education in organic gardening. And I'm the gardener here at the Children's Museum, so he comes once a week and he works with me in the garden. We do everything from mulching the beds, composting the beds, working with children, the public.
Some of the things I've learned here are just how to interact with people, how to keep focused on your task, even though there's a lot of distractions around.
Man, that's what happens when you start inside.
When we're working in the garden, she'll take the time to point out different little aspects of it. Like when we're working with the soil, she's told me a couple things about how to kind of test if it's good.
So when you guys were digging at school, I would say my mentorship style is modeling. Just kind of being around him and letting him come out in his own way, speak his own mind, and kind of lay off a little bit. Not prod him or coax him, but encourage him.
Hand irrigation? Or do you guys have
Jude tends to be kind of a quiet guy. He's very thoughtful, very articulate. And so coming here at the Children's Museum, it's a place where everybody's spirit kind of gets pulled out of them. Kids are playing, it's very creative, and we encourage that.
So do you feel like you'll actually produce some food in there for the school, or?
I really like Erin. She's a nice person, good mentor. When I first met her, she was like a stranger, but after working with her so intensively, she's kind of more been inducted into my life as kind of like one of my friends, kind of somebody that you can talk to when you need somebody to talk to, or somebody that can help you with a certain problem. Everybody knows that they're working in like the greenhouse and like dirt and stuff, but yet they'll still wear their like designer.
Jude's confidence has grown extremely. His social ability, I could see his spirit kind of just coming out, just being here without me necessarily teaching that.
What are we doing, Get a shovel full of this, and then just lightly sprinkle it over the top. Usually we're just out there kind of prepping the bed, and the kids will come along and they'll see, and then we'll usually ask them if they want to help, and most of the times they'll be pretty eager to help.
You can help water, and then you'll
Being with the kids here and working with the people is a lot easier than I thought it was going to be, because I thought that the kids were going to be a little more rambunctious and a little more rowdy, kind of interrupt me a little bit more in my work, but actually they can sometimes be a real big help, because you can set them to certain tasks, and the enthusiasm they bring is really, really helpful. I mean, you have to have that kind of more gentler, understanding kind of aspect to them, because, you know, they're little kids and they don't really know too much yet, and you're trying to help them along the path. I know I work with the little kids because you can get them to do your job for you.
That's right. Well, I think it takes a student totally out of context. They are who they are, and they're not a part of their school, they're not a part of their family, they're seen as an individual. So I only know Jude. I don't know Jude in class, I don't know Jude in his family, I only know him. So he comes to the mentorship, he comes to our relationship with only who he wants to be. And I think for teenagers, it's a time in their lives when they're trying to really discover that.
What I hear from the mentors is a sense of contribution to the next generation, a sense of celebration, of being able to share the knowledge and the skills that they have with someone who really, really is interested.
It's a portable camera, Obscura. See how the image is in there upside down?
Oh, that is so cool.
Isn't it?
When I first started in photography, a friend took me out and we played, you know, and it just opened up my world. And I've never forgotten that. I've never forgotten the inspiration that I got from those early mornings out with them, shooting pictures and things like that, and it fed me in ways that I didn't expect, and that's what I hope to give back, is that inspiration.
My mentorship is photography, but we've really focused in on pinhole photography specifically, largely because it's something that Jackie is really passionate about.
It's an old-timey headlamp, a gas headlamp for a car, but I was taken by this red filter.
I have been doing photography for a really long time, and I had been taking classes at school, and I really enjoyed those classes, but for some reason I was never really happy with any of the work that I did, and I found so many new things about myself and about photography that I hadn't had before. So, this is my camera that I made with Jackie, and she really helped me a lot with this one, and this is a wide-angle camera, and there's the pinhole right there. We really are friends, and we really are able to talk about just anything, and, you know, we start all our sessions off with tea, and we have a really great time, but there's also that element where she, you know, is someone who's older than me, and because of that, you know, there's that respect there. And I think that maintaining the respect and still having fun with each other and having that friendly connection is something I've really learned about.
Can I do a portrait of you, Ariana?
Totally. Good view in there.
Hold on a sec. Okay, ready?
She came to me, you know, and asked me, if a kid's motivated enough to do that, it's hard for me to say no. I guess I'm a little bit of a sucker in that. I saw that she was motivated.
That's kind of wimpy.
Yeah, because I wanted to, you know, with the angle of it, and I wanted to be in the center.
Too much thinking.
I'm thinking too much?
Too much.
Yeah. Mentorship is really important to me specifically and my high school experience, because there are a lot of things I get to do here and things I get to explore in my mentorship that I would not have otherwise.
I'm trying to get her through Pinhole to understand it on an intuitive level, to feel it inside.
In this program, there's a whole new sense of accountability, and that I think is very real world. It looks like we've got, how many pages do you think this part of open houses will end up being?
This year, actually, Seth, he was the man, because he found the mentorship for me. He really worked hard to work with me and to make sure I have all my requirements. Like, he worked with me on the portfolio. He's really been a great help. And I'll know which handout.
Rami's an interesting kid. He came to me and said, I want to do a mentorship in business. I think that's the first time I've heard that. And he loved it.
So if you could just get the sign out of the trunk and then set it up on the other side of that sign. When I heard about the mentorship program, I volunteered to be a mentor. I've always liked teaching, and I thought that this would give me an opportunity to work with somebody and help them, and I really liked the idea that I had a whole school year to affect change in a person, and also just to have myself reflected back and see where I was as a realtor.
I really liked the idea of business and working with clients and people, and real estate has a lot to do with that. You're working with all different people. You're suiting their needs. but you're also seeing your own.
See if I can find the flyers. In the beginning of the mentorship, we didn't have any real particular guidelines in terms of what we could do or couldn't do. There's a tremendous amount of freedom. I let him be a part of my business life to the extent I could. I copied him on emails and brought him to open houses and took him to preview property with me, and he probably knows all my customers by name.
Hi,
how are you? I think the most important skills that we're working on together are time management and planning ahead and taking responsibility for your actions.
I've been late a couple times, and that really has taught me that, sometimes I can get really distracted and forget to do things. And there was a time earlier in the year when I was supposed to go to a meeting, a training session, and I didn't even show up. And after that, Lynn was very upset, and we talked about it, and I told her, yeah, I don't want to be like that.
I felt that Raimi was able to kind of reach down into a part of himself that recognized that here's an opportunity and here's something that I need, and I can really make this happen.
Well, good luck, and I hope things work out for you.
Yeah, thank you. Good luck to you, too.
Up until this year, we've had anecdotal evidence that the mentorship was working. We want to get some hard data on now 7 years into the mentorship program, what's working.
We were asked to look at how and if the mentorship program is working at Monte del Sol. And if it is working, what impact is it having on students? How is it working? Why is it working? Is it working to transform students' lives, and how? The focus groups were illuminating. I mean, young people have really important things to say, and they had a forum to say it.
First thoughts on the mentorship, good, it's cool. Tell me why.
Because you could do what you want, and you get school credit for it, so it's not just like a waste of time on your own. And my mentor's cool, like we hang out of mentorship.
I think having the chance to do something that you're really connected to will make everything else that you do more enjoyable. Being connected to anything you do does that.
Just having that kind of a bond with somebody other than your parents or your teachers, and it's something separate from what you have in class.
Young people really benefit from the mentorship program. And you don't always hear them say, I feel a part of something bigger than what's happening at school. And the young people that I spoke to were able to say that, and were able to connect that to the mentorship program.
Wait. All right, guys, get your collars and your leashes, and I will get you your dogs. Molly, Jensen, and Sydney. I called Jill, who's now my mentor, and said, I want to learn how to train service dogs. And we had a meeting, and she's been my mentor ever since. Good boy. I love training service dogs. It's a huge, huge part of my life, and it's changed my life unimaginably. Release. When I started raising my first service dog, I raised her entire life, and I remember at her graduation ceremony, I was privileged to get to hand her leash over to her new owner, and her owner looked up to me, and she had tears in her eyes and this huge smile on her face. And I remember just thinking at that moment that if I could do that for another person in my lifetime, that would make my entire life worth it. Come join us over here. This one?
We started out in a very structured way. And in the beginning, I am definitely the teacher, instructor. And she worked with us. We showed her the path. And then she was able to walk that path and take it as far as she wanted to.
Dewey?
I've learned to be much more patient, and I've really developed my self-esteem, which was very, very low when I entered high school. And it's made me friends and got me into college, which helps a lot. Ask him again. It's nice having a person in your life who isn't your mother or father, who's an adult and who has all the experiences. And that's really what my mentor has been to me. She's been like a mother who's not actually related to me, so I don't fight with her.
I never thought about being a mentor until Victoria came and asked me to be her mentor. Having the structure of the mentorship program has given me the opportunity to really know what mentoring is about. And when Victoria first asked me, I went to it naively, I'd have to say. I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea. I'll do that for you. But since the framework has developed and has been developing, and listening to other people who also take on the responsibility of a mentorship, I've been able to realize how valuable it is in student lives. And watching somebody grow and watching somebody stay passionate and they choose to walk the path without you there, that to me is very rewarding. There you go.
We are very worried, and we were worried 8 years ago when we started the school, it hasn't gone away, that kids are disconnected from lots of things. It's what I think is the fundamental disease that affects not only young people but our nation, is a sense of disconnection to their communities, to their homes, to their schools, to learning. They're just not engaged in those aspects of their lives. Mentorship helps repair that disconnection.
Where they're outside thrush crush.
In school, I was like barely passing some of my classes. Earlier in my teenage years, I was just sort of experimenting with life, so experimenting, you know, in drugs, of course, but like, you know, I was smoking pot a lot. I was getting, you know, I was going out and partying and like, and you know, I'd feel good for a while and then wake up the next morning and like, just, you know, feel terrible. There is a lot of really negative stuff going on, and with all these like big problems, it's like, what am I doing here, you know? Like, so, and it's a good question. I didn't see what algebra had to do with global warming. Nobody was like putting it together for me.
I'm Mark Miko, and I teach math and comparative religions at Monte del Sol. And outside of the classroom, I mentor students in yoga and meditation.
The date of Jesus' birth was something like...
Teaching at Monte del Sol is a great adventure, and there is a lot of freedom in the way to bring the content to the students. For instance, in the comparative religions class, we will have a reading and then we'll all discuss the reading. Do you see Christianity as more about the person, the historical Jesus, or more about the message?
He really didn't seem to have any pride about it.
The comparative religions class is the bridge between the traditional classroom and the mentorship program outside the classroom. So many of the students have said to me that they feel alienated as human beings, both in their own bodies and then in the culture at large. And the mentorship brings them together both inside and then as with themselves in terms of the outside world. Start with some hatha yoga exercises and just to get our bodies limbered up. When I hold a yoga and meditation mentorship, what I focus on with the students is for them to learn to, first of all, become aware of tensions that they're holding in their body and in their emotions and their thoughts, and then to learn how to actually work with those tensions. Even though there's a spirituality component, it's not based on religion. It's in experiencing the body, the emotions, and the thought processes. When I first met Chris, he was very wild and unruly and out of control.
I'd been curious about meditation before, and so yeah, I was like, okay, I'll check this out. Might be something cool. And then, I mean, after the first time, I was hooked.
The first in-breath, that was just the beginning. And since then, I've seen his life turn around. I've seen his behavior turn around, the way he deals with adults, the way he interacts.
What meditation has done for me is that it empowers you and helps you become more in touch with who you are and what's important to you, which I think is basically what the mentorship program at Monte del Sol is trying to do.
Just to get all that out, and then just... In the first couple months of the yoga and meditation mentorship with a large number of students, I was receiving phone calls from parents of the students that were involved, saying, first of all, how much they enjoyed the mentorship, and then that there was this change at home, a change in behavior, a change in discipline. I was realizing that this mentorship was working.
What Mark has done has showed me that the world is still magical.
I think young people have a lot to offer. These are kids who've shown they're self-motivated, they own their own learning, and they come in with some real curiosity about the world. Adolescence is a time so often of displaced dreams. You know, what are you gonna do when you're older? We must ask that question of kids all the time. This program says, what do you want to do now?
I believe that the most important thing about a mentorship program like this is to create a new paradigm for education, a new paradigm for ethical development, a new way of addressing many of the social conditions that exist today.
It's the mission of this school to graduate kids with the skills, the desire, and the vision to be community leaders, locally and globally. But imagine a kid who would graduate from a high school, well prepared academically, but with an idea of what they wanted to do with that education. A sort of a drive or an ethos that they wanted to get involved in the world.